What's going on, everybody? I'm back with another video. This video is going to be looking at Flick's first game in charge of Germany versus Liechtenstein in their World Cup qualifying match. And before we start, please check out both my books. There's links in the description below, and they're on Amazon, so be sure to check that out. I'm making this video using Keyframe, which is also in the description, so be sure to check that stuff out. But let's get right into it. So Germany was attacking a 5-3-2 low block of Liechtenstein most of the game, pretty much all the game except for when Liechtenstein had goal kicks. And their 5-3-2 was very narrow. Their back five, their wing backs only spanned about the width of the penalty box, and their three central midfielders and two forwards also played very narrow, controlling the central three corridors, and mainly the central corridor and the inner part of the half spaces. Now Germany attacked in a 4-2-3-1, which quickly looked to become some sort of back three that involved one of the holding midfielders, most of the time Kimmich. In this example, it's Gundogan, fading into the half space to try and easily progress past the two forwards of Liechtenstein and draw out one of their central midfielders. So from here, we would then have our central pivot, in this example Kimmich, hold the space between the two forwards. There is examples of when both of them would drop outside of the width of the two central defenders, creating almost like a narrow back four with their two holding midfielders and vacating the pivot area. Now the players higher up the field, we have Leroy Sane, Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, and Musiala, and these players played very narrow for most of the game, and particularly the wingers played on the inside part, particularly the wingers played on the external part of the half spaces, pinning the wing backs into a more narrow position, which then gave room for the fullbacks to advance up the field and create 2v1s entering the assist zone of the penalty area and trying to get in behind Liechtenstein. So here we have Gundogan fading into the right half space and our left-sided central defender driving forward that, as we said before, pull out a midfielder of Liechtenstein, which is happening here. So what this would do is it would create space between the lines, and it would be a way to overemphasize the 2v1 against the wingback to then hopefully get in behind. And when Germany would look to progress through a wide area and get in behind through the half space, then we would start to see the players on the weak side here fading into the blind side of their defenders and about to make runs into the box for the near post or for the cutback chance as the two priority when they do get into these crossing or cutback positions. Here's an example of how we said Germany's double pivots often both faded into the half space at one time, vacating the pivot area. As we see here, the pivot area is vacated, and now we have players between the lines overloading the half space, creating partnerships between the lines and pinning both the wide central defender and the wing back, allowing the fullback of Germany to then get forward into a free area and create 2-versus-1 situations while the players ahead of the ball are pinning the back five. So if we take a look at Germany's advanced players, their wingers, their fullbacks, and their central forward, Timo Werner, all positioning on pretty similar horizontal line and creating a flat 6 players across the height of the field, and then leaving the double pivots in the central defenders to create a diamond to stagger. This created a chance for these players to operate in the last line of the defense for Germany and occupy a Liechtenstein defender. And what this would try and create is 2-versus-1s, as we've been talking about in the wide area, through effective pinning, and the only defender that would be left free or that would try to be left free is the most central defender of Liechtenstein. As we often see in back fives, the most central defender is the player in the back line who typically jumps the least and has the least freedom in their defensive movement. So by playing with this flat 6, although it didn't create great circulation, created opportunity to have fluid play of different players checking to the ball and different players making runs in behind. It also created the wingers and fullback relationship to then interchange horizontally their position on which player became the free player in the wide area and drive and attack the space when they became free. But typically the wingers would want to stay narrow to then have direct access to the half spaces inside the penalty area for dangerous goal assisting situations. Now in the second half, we see more of the same with Kimmich now playing in the left half space and Gundogan holding the central corridor, creating our diamond and build-up, and we have our 6 players flat across, spanning across the whole width of the field. But now we see more attention to the width that these players are receiving the pass. So now we can see Leroy Sane just on this external part of the half space, almost entering the wide area. But what this does now is we can really single out this picture, is it limits the amount that the wingback of Liechtenstein can jump into the wide areas. So with the wingback playing very narrow, oriented towards the winger, it creates then the opportunity for the wingback or for the fullback of Germany to get in behind with one pass, and the pass will almost always be played to Leroy Sane before it enters the wide area. So by playing the ball to Leroy Sane, it manipulates the defense and forces them to shift and disrupts their shifting by positioning him higher than the midfield 3 and outside of their zone of access, making him the wingback's responsibility now. So when the wingback would jump out to pressure Sane, then the space would be created in behind for the fullback. So there were very big advantages to be played when they circulated possession, and then they found the player on the exterior part of the half space and the wingback's responsibility. So from here, they then had the players fading into the blind side of their defenders to then take advantage of cutback and crosses and scoring positions. Now the last picture is when the subs came on. We stayed with our same build-up shape, but now with Marco Reus entering the game, we had a little bit more fluidity and more action from advanced players coming back towards the ball to get on the ball. So we can still see our initial build-up structure representing our diamond that we saw throughout most of the game. But now with the more attacking players coming in the game, we see a midfield 3 and more of our wingers staying much more narrow and higher. So what this did was it created a distinct separation between the forwards and now the midfielders, who then had more of a role operating between the lines, and now the midfielders would operate in these external parts of the half spaces, trying to get out of the reach of the midfield of Liechtenstein, pulling them further forward and trying to undo their vertical and horizontal compactness. That is what kept the game so close throughout the entire match. And we still see the free players and sources of progression of the fullbacks getting high and wide, with the double pivot of the midfield staying home. And that's going to wrap up today's analysis, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.